with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Who's down with OTC? Look at all the beautiful people coming in here today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, beautiful people. And that's what I like to say. That's what I like to call the crypto fam, beautiful people, because that's exactly what you are, who you are. In today's stream, we're going to take a look at a couple different things. I really want to, it's just kind of like a precursor to what's going to happen later tonight. We are very fortunate to have John E. Deaton, who is the lead attorney who filed the complaint versus the SEC, and looking for two important things to protect XRP investors. And those two things are, oh, we're going to get into it. Okay, here it comes. Let's go.
And now, the XRP Minute with Chip on the Chain.
Chip here on the chain, XRP Minute. If it's your first time here, like, subscribe, click that little notification bell below. You'll get notified of any new videos. Also, we have another channel. Threw up another video, I don't know, maybe like an hour and a half ago. And that is also in there. You can click on that and then go over and subscribe too. The reason I say this all the time is like 55 to 60% of the people that never, ever are subscribed to our stream are like, that seems odd. But, you know, it doesn't matter. We love it. You can always take a chance, take a flyer, say, what the hell? I'll give Chip a chance. I'll give Jeff a chance. Why not? So let's jump into this. I wanted to shout out the very first person in here today, which is none other than a name that I cannot pronounce. NC. So that's who it was. And then we got Prodigy Defender. What's up? Andreas. Let's put you guys in the stream. There we go. Hello, Andreas. And we've got, who else popped in here? Of course, Wen Mullet. What up, XRP? Wen Mullet. How are you doing, my man? By the way, you DM'd me something. I think that's a very good idea. Thank you for the suggestion there. And we also have 416 Crypto. David Lopez. XRP resistance at 0.2 to 0.4 to 0.25. Cool, man. That's nice. I'm down with XTC. Do, right? That's awesome. And we have, who else is in here? Oh, Kelly Slade is popping in. Nice. Good to see you, Kelly. Rudy Mancia, he said, I sold my Ripple security for XRP security. Boom. I love the way you're thinking, Rudy. I love that way you're thinking right there. And who else is in here? Gosh, there's so many comments. We got QQ LaRue. Grateful that you're bringing us all together to fight this SEC crap and keep us up to date. Yeah, it's one of the things that I started going, Jeff and I started streaming a lot because, you know, you can hang out on crypto Twitter for so long. This is a nice place. You want to be with family. You want to come in. You want to talk. You want to share ideas. And this is the place to do it. We share ideas here. You know, we come together. We workshop stuff. That's what we do here. So, and then tonight, and I will drop it in the chat right there, but tonight we got a very special guest, Johnny Deaton, and he is the one who filed that lawsuit. Now, he's looking for two specific things to protect the XRP investors. First one is he wants the SEC to amend their complaint against Ripple, and he wants to make sure in that complaint that they exclude the fact that XRP investors and it's a security. So he wants that sort of protections in there. The other thing he's looking for, which I really like, because this is really excited for Jeff and I to talk to John tonight at 8 o'clock tonight on the live stream. He's going to be coming on here on the roundtable. I'm really excited for a number of reasons. First of all, it's a very well crafted complaint. It's filled with factual information, nothing but the facts. And you know, where the Ripple, the SEC v. Ripple one is a little bit thin, if I must say, on facts. It's a lot of cherry picking, and it's a lot of and a lot of assumptions are made. So they build an argument based on assumptions. So, you know, misrepresenting what an investment contract is, and right? And we're going to get into that. We're going to be able to ask John questions. I know you guys we've already started looking through the questions you guys have put out on the main tweet. If you go to on the chain at _the_chain as our Twitter handle, and if somebody can drop it in there, thank you. You know, just drop the whole thing so people can click on it. Add your questions. We'll be going through it, and of course, join the live stream tonight because we'll be taking questions out of the live stream because this is really great. I mean, so the second thing that I wanted to get around, first thing is like the protection and then that XRP is not a security. The second thing in there that he's looking for, if being a class action, if bringing a class action suit, setting up a trust so that if there are any civil penalties, any penalties whatsoever levied against Ripple, there's bound to be some penalty, right? So any penalty that's levied goes into this trust. And from this trust, the people who join the class action as XRP investors will then have, what he's looking to do is have a distribution. So instead of the fine going to, let's say, the government agency that gets flushed down some toilet somewhere, no one knows what happens to it. It just goes there and nobody's like, hey, what happened to that money? Everyone's like, well, nobody knows. It just happened. Nobody knows what happened. It just magically just disappeared. So he wants to set up a trust. He wants to be in a position where people can start, if anybody joins the class action, can be compensated, because let's face it, billions upon billions were erased, right, from the market cap. Everyone's investment shot down, and what so beautifully and elegantly the complaint that he filed against the SEC talks about is the fact that there is no protections. First of all, the fact is that the SEC, their mission statement is to protect and look out for consumers, right? It's one of their main mission statements. And he asserts that they weren't looking out for the little guy. They weren't looking out for you. If you have XRP in your portfolio, you were not being looked after. But after 7 years of no clarity, wondering where the line is, guess what ended up happening? You know, they ended up coming right after. Okay, so digital nomad investor. So how do we join the class action suit? Well, right now, it's just a complaint, right? So it had to be picked up at this moment in time, you know, and that's a great question. We can go ahead and ask John Deaton, you know, lead attorney who filed that tonight. But as of now, he's looking to do those two things. That's what he's looking for, relief. That's what that whole complaint is about. The two things is like separate the XRP, you know, holders, so they're not going to be charged with owning a security. They want the complaint against Ripple to be amended. The second part of that is a class action. Let me pull that up. Let's look through that. I'll show you exactly what the wording looks like in that, and hopefully I have it Hopefully I have it on here. Yeah, I do. Look at this. I like when things work. There we go. So let's pull this up on my screen here. Let's go over here to the screen share and we'll go ahead and pull this puppy up. So there we are right there. So let me get this bigger, a little bit bigger here so you guys can see. So there you go. So basically, this is the complaint that was filed Deaton v. the SEC. So this is what they're looking for relief. Petitioners. Now the petitioners that are named in this, there's several people named, but one of the things that, let me see what page we're on. We're on page 25, but I want to go to the top real quick because this is really important. So we've got John Deaton. He is the attorney who filed this, but we also have Jordan Deaton. I'm guessing probably a family member. We'll ask John about that later. James Lamonte. Tyler Lamonte, we have Maya Lamonte, Mitchell McKenna, Kristiana Warner, and this is the line that you need to pay attention to, and all others similarly situated. You want to know who that is? You guessed it, that's you. So if you have XRP in your portfolio as one of your digital assets you hold, you are others that are similarly situated. Now let's jump back down to page 25 here. Lots of scrolling. Let me see. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's go down here. Oh, past it. Past it, past it, past it. Now, one of the things that John recommends, too, that I'm going to get into, I'll come back to it. Was that, did I say page 25? Was I wrong? Huh. Let me see. Let me look for relief in here. Okay, let me look for, I thought for sure it was that, but let's see. Huh, maybe it isn't. Let's see what it is. There it is, prayer for relief. Okay. Okay, so for the relief, the petitioners seek immediate relief, requesting the court order respondents to amend the complaint against Ripple to exclude the claim that XRP owned by petitioners constitutes security. So what's basically going on there is what he wants to do is he wants to protect the community by saying that if you amend it by just simply stating that the claim against XRP owned by the petitioners, in other words, us, the community, he wants to amend it to say that that's not going to be part of it, right? Let's jump back into this. And then the second part of that is for an order certifying that the action may be maintained as a class action, certifying petitioners as representative of the class, and designating the undersigned counsel as lead counsel for the class. So what he's saying here is that on a class action suit, if he were lead counsel, he's suggesting equitable relief as follows. Number one, imposing a constructive trust for any funds awarded against Ripple or against the respondent on behalf of the class. So at any time, so let's just say for a minute, let's say that some fine is levied against let's say there's a fine that's levied against Ripple, right? Who knows? I mean, it could be $100 million, a $1 billion fine, and whatever it might be. He wants to create this constructive trust, and any fines, penalties, and he basically nails anything that could be levied against them to go in this constructive trust on behalf of the class. And then secondarily, if the SEC receives any funds from a settlement or verdict with Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse, and or Chris Larsen, including but not limited to funds from a penalty, that's what he goes into, civil fines, interest, disgorgement, or any other funds, those will also go into the constructive trust. Any damages determined at trial, any reasonable attorney's fees for an award of costs, for any other relief the court might deem just appropriate, proper, and for any pre or post-judgment interest and the amounts awarded. There is no remedy available to petitioners. All major U.S. exchanges have indicated they will either delist or suspend all XRP trading effective January 19th, 2021. And once these exchanges delist and others suspend all XRP activity, the XRP owned by petitioners will become untradeable and thus lose all value and become useless. So what he's asserting here is the fact that if you have, suppose you have your XRP sitting in an exchange, they go ahead and delist it, or you're forced to not be, if you can't trade your XRP, if you can't put it somewhere, as U.S. residents, now if you're outside the country, you're looking at this with bated breath. Can't wait to see what the outcome's going to be. I don't ever think there's going to be a scenario where you're going to necessarily be affected, but a ruling in favor of Ripple, and especially classifying that XRP is decentralized cryptocurrency, it is not a security, and let me go ahead and Jeff, are you ready to come in here? Let me see if we can pull Jeff in here. What's up, Jeff?
Hey,
how you doing, man?
What is going on? Can
What's
you hear me
going
okay?
on? Hear you fine, man. Hear you fine.
All right.
So
All right.
Jeff had an unfortunate today. His internet just went out kablooey. But you looks like you got a decent connection here. But the green screen it's not playing
Green
along
screen
here.
back here, not so good. I thought I could use the green screen over here, but that's not going to work. But the internet connection is pretty bad. But I'm going to have to find another backdrop somehow.
So what are you using for a microphone? You might want to use like headphones perhaps plugged into your.
So that's another issue I'm going to have is trying to figure out how to. I don't have an adapter. The phone doesn't take a 3.5 millimeter.
Oh, is it a C? Is it a USB-C?
USB-C. I think I have one.
Well, this is fine. I mean, actually, this isn't bad. I mean, everybody, I think the audio is pretty decent. I mean, there's no way to plug your microphone in there. So I think it's decent. I mean, it's a lot better than I would have expected for a phone. So
yeah, this phone's pretty good. Then
let me jump.
Samsung S20. So
nice. Let me jump back in here. I'm going to go ahead and share this up on the screen again. And so
hey, just take me out for a second. I'm going to go and try to see if I can get some headphones. I'll be right back.
All right, let's do that. Boom. So let's do this. So yeah, Jeff's we're trying to figure this out tonight because obviously we have John Deaton on, and we want to make sure we can get this resolved. So Jeff's going to be popping in and out. He's got a really incredible internet speed coming down, going up. It just died, and the service guy already came out, had a difficult time fixing it. So this is key right here. The reason they're looking for this sort of relief is because of the XRP investors will be kind of left in the cold. Now, we're not supposed to go over to Binance. We could take from a cold storage wallet. We could potentially send it somewhere, right? But I mean, we're not supposed to, right? I mean, we're not supposed to go to Binance. If you still have an account at Binance, now I'm not talking about Binance.us, the regular Binance. Now, as U.S. residents, we're not supposed to use it. But then we found out, and again, that Binance.us is not going to go ahead and support XRP either. And that's got to be really hard for Catherine Coley, who's an ex-Rippler, who knows probably more about XRP and Ripple than most people, and most of the people running exchanges, only because she spent 2.5 years at Ripple. And I'm pretty sure that decision came from above. I don't think she was the one making the call on that, but you never know. A lot of times attorneys influence you and they say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they have their own sort of way to deal with stuff. So I want to jump back in here, see what other comments we have. Let's see what we have here. Good afternoon. So Joe Schmo says, good afternoon. Anyone else having a neighbor wallet issues sending XRP? I think we the retail investors being pushed out of XRP. Yeah, there's been a lot of assertions with a lot of different people, and Jeff did a video on this. Is this part of the plan? Push out the retail investors, squash them, crush them. Now, the SEC, like I said before, this is something that John Deaton put very well in the complaint, all the facts, and if you guys have had a chance to read it, it's fantastic. Now, what I'll probably do is drop a tweet in there in a little bit, only because I want to show you guys what John recommends you reading. If you don't want to read the whole complaint, you're just going to read this one section, which I will find. Hang on a second. Let me look for this. I'm going to look for John's. Yeah, here we go. Here we go, people. So, wow, it's always funny. You have all these ads running in there. So let's go ahead and show the screen again. So John put up this tweet right here. He said lots of people have questions about the legal action that he filed on the 1st in federal court against the SEC regarding XRP. He appreciates everyone's questions, and he's tried to respond to as many of them as he can, but he's sure he'll miss some of the questions. I'll try and respond tonight on the live stream. So we went ahead and shared this tweet right here that we're going to have him on at 8 o'clock, which is great. But I'm going to drop this right here inside the let me see if I can pop it in here from this side. Let's see if you guys get that. Hopefully that'll go. But if I just drop that tweet in there now, if you guys look, if you scroll down a little bit, there's two parts of this. So right here, John recommends reading what's called the memorandum in support. that has all the facts. Now, if you want to just like read the facts of the case and what it is, that's further down in the complaint. If you can download that as a PDF locally, I know a lot of people have reached out saying, hey, do you have it? It's right there. Now, what I've done is I've separated that just so it's the memorandum in support, and I separated it from the actual complaint. This is the full complaint. Full complaint here is Deaton versus the SEC, and in this one you can actually download it, and it also has the memorandum in there. But I just, following John's lead on that, he said, hey, have people just read the memorandum if they don't want to read the whole thing, because that really focuses a lot on the facts. And then what I did down here is that Jeff and I always like to try to do this if we can, because we really recognize a lot of our audience really is outside the U.S. So unfortunately, it's going to be later for a lot of you folks, but you can see the different times here. If I put this up here, this is just an app I have on my phone, but it kind of gives you an idea. You'll know that it's a close time zone, so you can see when this airs. And if you look at that, if you click on the tweet that I threw in the chat, you'll see what time zone. Obviously, if you're over in London, it's going to be 1 in the morning, or the Netherlands, or if you're Singapore, it's tomorrow morning, Tokyo, Perth, or Sydney, right? So it kind of gives you an idea, kind of what time zone you're in, give you a little bit of a better heads up to figure out where you are in the whole matter. So, Jeff, I don't know if are you ready to jump in again? Let me know if you. Yes, okay. I'm going to add Jeff back into the stream here. What's up, Jeff?
All right, there we go. I think I found
solid.
Another place in the area where I can use this, where I get some signal quality. How's that look?
So you sound good and you look good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thank you.
This is going to work good. You're looking pretty good, Jeff.
Man, there we go.
You're a good-looking kid. You know what I mean, as they say. So hey, look at that good-looking kid. So I want to be a shout out too. We just started streaming to Facebook. An old friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, Chip, I didn't know you had a crypto show. When did you start that?" I'm like, 2 years ago. But the thing was, we just upgraded the software here that we stream to, so we can stream to. We're coming to you live on Twitch. We stream on Jeff's Twitter handle, at the Huddle Review, at my Twitter handle, at Stephen Chip, and then we also stream on the chain. So we're putting it out there on YouTube. So we have like 6 or 7 different locations we stream to, and just kind of try to get the word out. And what we always say in this thing is that the best way you can support us is to share this with people. Share it with people. Tweet it out. Right here. This is When Mullet. Hit the like and subscribe, because 60% of the people that watch these streams, they're not subscribed. So this way you'll kind of come in and say, that was kind of cool, it was fun hanging out with that community, and then you'll be like, what the hell was the name of that channel again? The Jeff and Chip Show? And you'll look for that and you won't find it because it's on the chain, right? We have my boy Pomp has something called Off the Chain, but we like to keep it on the chain. So yeah, some people get confused there because he has that podcast. But the signal quality is great, Jeff. We're getting good clarity. Is that your phone that you're streaming?
That's my son's phone.
Well, your son has a better phone. It's like the kids of mine. They always have better phones than I do, right? They always have the best ones. That's right. This is good. So, Jeff, what are your thoughts on this? About what's coming up tonight with John Deaton and this whole complaint that was filed against the SEC?
Yeah, no, this is really exciting stuff. Considering that we have an attorney that's actually going after the SEC. It's not that often that that the people are standing up, and really doing what they think is going to be right. But here we have a scenario where the SEC case really makes no sense, and I think that that this attorney, as he's filed the complaint, really makes a lot of sense. And what was the most interesting about it, Chip? It's funny. I feel like I'm out of balance here.
Are you standing? You're standing,
leaning
right?
over there. I'm standing up. Yeah.
Standing desk,
so I got my standing desk over here, and I'm gonna have to reposition later. But it's just funny because the some of the things that we've talked about over the past week and a half or so have really paralleled in line with the complaint in terms of just the overall approach. I think one of the big points really is that the SEC waited 7 years to even make a statement, and we brought this up over and over, and now we're seeing in the complaint, in his complaint, the same thing, and that's really a big deal because the SEC supposedly siding, in order to protect retail investors, supposedly to protect retail investors, but if you're going to wait 7 years and allow people to keep investing, while if you have a specific thought process and you feel that, based on the SEC, that this is what's justified from your perspective, that this is a security, then why not bring action, early? Why wait 7 years and not say anything about it and just stay quiet? All of the concern every time Ripple brought it up and said, hey, we need some regulatory clarity in the space. Others have said we need regulatory clarity in the space. And yet the SEC, when it came to XRP anyways, was relatively silent. And there's even, I was in the process of putting together my video for yesterday, but Crypto Eddie actually had some statements coming out of Jay Clayton. And, one of those was, if they believe it's a security, then they will provide regulation. If they believe it, if they think, but he wasn't clear on that point. And either it is or it isn't. Either you're going to bring case or you're not going to bring case. You don't keep waiting and waiting and waiting until the timing is right for some other outcome. If you're trying to protect the retail investor, if you don't care about the retail investor and it has another point, then obviously you'll see them act the way they're acting now. And I think there's an ulterior motive behind all of this, and really has nothing to do with protecting the retail investor.
Yeah, well, since I've read this complaint a couple times, what you're probably referring to right here, let me go ahead and add this back in here, back to the stream here. So this is one of the things that's in the complaint. It's line number 30. If you guys go to that tweet earlier, and I can drop it again, but this is what came up, is the whole idea of declaring XRP as security. So Clayton, at least 2 years prior to December 22nd in 2020, enforcement action declaring XRP as security, was specifically asked about XRP publicly. So on one occasion, Clayton was being interviewed by CNBC, and he was directly asked if the SEC was going to officially declare XRP a non-security, similarly to the SEC declaring two larger crypto assets, BTC and ETH, non-securities. Clayton said, this is what he said, it's why it's bolded here. This is how he responded to that. Are you going to provide clarity regarding XRP? If it's a security, we will regulate it. So the CNBC anchor pushed back at this non-answer that was asked of Clayton, and he said there seems to be some confusion around XRP because the SEC has not officially declared it as a non-security like it has for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Clayton smugly responded, "I hope I cleared up any confusion by stating, if it's a security, we will regulate it." So, it should be noted that Clayton was asked about XRP by CNBC during the very time period SEC now claims Ripple and Garlinghouse were actively and continuously selling illegal securities in the form of XRP. Yet, Clayton waited several more years before filing the enforcement action declaring all XRP as securities. So that's kind of an oddity right there. I mean, a lot of the smugness, I love how they say smugly, because that's how he was. He wasn't a big advocate of cryptocurrency, and what's since happened is, as he was heading out the door, everything changed over. So you have a new chief economist, you get like 6 new directors in there, you get new attorneys in there, and is there anybody left in the building that still wants to go forward with this? That's going to press on and hold them responsible? It's kind of a weird thing, because you have Hester Pierce, Jeff, who's been so like friendly towards Ripple. Like they're crippled now. They're crippled now. We'll call them Cripple from right on now, because they're hampered along. They're on one leg, they're like trying to conduct a business. Look, Ripple's trying to change the world. Apple changed the world. Google changed the world. Ripple was trying to change the world on cross-border remittance payments as their first line of business, and then there's all kinds of use cases after that. And meanwhile, we've just turned Ripple into Cripple, which happens.
That's right. We got the Cripple. So, but here, Michael Purvis, brought up a good point here. He said Clayton will probably end up with a consulting firm when it's all said and done. But I believe isn't Clayton moving on to? He's moving on to.
I think he's going.
Appointment, right?
I think he's going to be a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. Oddly enough, where this was filed, this federal lawsuit was filed in the Southern District of New York, and only because that's where the SEC's got an office. But Yeah, so that means that to make it even more inconvenient, what they're going to do for this pretrial hearing, and just understand that a pretrial hearing is just that. People are like, it's a hearing date, it's a court date. Look, they go to a pretrial hearing. First, Ripple responds. In the pretrial hearing, it's going to be telephonic. They publish the phone number, so I think almost anybody can listen in on it. I could be wrong about that, but the phone number and the access code was published. Well, not publicly, but if you know where to go, you can find it. And listen in on this whole thing, because it's court, and almost anybody can show up at a courtroom. Sometimes they're closed, but in this case, a pretrial hearing is just that. It's a hearing before a potential trial. And what the SEC is looking for is they're requesting a jury trial, right? So a lot of things can happen. Now, we don't know yet. There's now the Honorable Anna Torres. She's the judge that was assigned to this in the Southern District of New York. Now, she put out an order stating that if both parties agree, they could have a magistrate judge, which would create a lot more efficiency and expediency as far as moving forward, right? It'd be a lot quicker to go down that path than to go through a Southern District, which could just be a long time, right? And everybody's asserted, well, this could take a year and 2 years. I don't think so. And what happens if our pal Brian Brooks, former chief legal counsel for Coinbase, who knows an awful lot about crypto, not like a lot of these yahoos in government, knows a lot about cryptocurrency and really understands it, and has kind of talked about the fact that the SEC doesn't have to go, or not the SEC, but I should say the government doesn't have to go build the technology for a CBDC, that it already exists, that you could already move it very quick and within a couple of seconds. Jeff, wonder what he was talking about there. So he understands XRP, he understands XLM, he understands use cases. And, we have Hester Pierce, we have a lot of different people at the SEC. This is where I don't think it's going to take too long. But if Brian Brooks comes out, he said in 4 to 6 weeks, which means they've been working on it for a long time. Suppose they come out and they say that if a cryptocurrency demonstrates X, Y, and Z, and I'm just guesstimating at this point, that it's considered a cryptocurrency. Now, what happens if we get clarification? And all this complaint's already been filed. Now we've got this before any sort of pretrial hearing. Have you ever thought about that, Jeff? What happens if Brian Brooks, the comptroller of the OCC comptroller, what happens if he says, "Hey, this is what defines cryptocurrency, and this is not a security"?
Yeah, so I think at that point that's interesting, because then this case that the SEC is bringing, a good portion of the case is now no longer relevant, which is, to deem it a security or not, so they would have to they have more to fight. I think one of the other components of this is that they're bringing the case, personally against Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen, and they're trying to make other statements and really, going after their character. And so in the case, they're trying to go through a full character assassination, of the two, primaries in this company. And it's really unfortunate that they're taking that approach, because it's a complete slash and burn approach, and it's extremely destructive as well. So, I get it. If you have an issue with them, again, if this goes back to 2013 and over the past 7 years, you've seen them selling off their own personal digital asset on the market, but I don't even think they're bringing claim against their personal digital asset. They're just using that as an attempt to smear them in the eyes of the public. I think what they're really trying to focus in on are the decisions that were made by Ripple to sell off some of the holdings that are coming out of escrow, or even prior to the digital assets going into escrow, where they're selling them at a discounted rate to the financial institutions. Now, the thing is, stuff like that happens all the time. So the fact that, but I guess, but it happens many times. You see it on the stock market, that the stock's already a security at that point, but you have the early adopters of the stock. We talk about this. I brought up a lot. The way I look at it, anyways, my own personal opinion, when you see an IPO, go, there's always the early investors, the accredited investors, then you have the financial institutions. They get first dibs on it, and their first dibs is always at a discounted rate. And so by the time it hits the IPO and hits retail, it's, they're already making their money as soon as it opens. What is the stock market typically opens at 9:30 a.m. So by 10 a.m., they've already made their money, and they're living large, and most of the stock that becomes available is what they're selling off. But in this scenario, again, so the idea behind it to give the financial institutions a little bit of a discount, but I think Ripple brought it a step further because they're not saying here's an investment for you to make money on. They're giving them a discounted rate in order for them to put it into use, in order for them to experience the ODL, in order for them to experience what the movement of a digital asset really looks like, and say, hey, here's a little perk incentive to get you guys to do it. We need to get it out there. Does that help? I don't know. I mean, they could give it away. And I believe that there's been, quite a bit of digital asset, also given away. And as they try to sandbox and improve their case, there's so much more to this space. While this is going on, they say that Ethereum is not a security, and that's only, and Chip, one of the things, yesterday I was trying to get my live stream going and ran into all this stuff, but one of the points I was trying to make up, and I'm going to roll this video out, all this stuff will all kind of factor together, which is really going back to the government control. My premise on that is he who controls the payments controls the world. And we see this conversation and discussion going on when it comes to SWIFT, right? And you have a lot of the antagonists out there, like with Russia and China and Iran and Venezuela and Syria and North Korea and many of the others, the bad actor states, that when you put sanctions on them, you basically cut off their flow through SWIFT. And so if you can control that mechanism, you can have some impact on how things transact around the world. Obviously, those governments are trying to find ways to circumvent, but now it comes back full circle again. If you can control the ebb and flow of this payment system, you can still control the world. But in this scenario right now, the government is also trying to make a decision on who's the big one, who, just like we saw during the crisis in 2008, the government decided, we're going to choose which banks succeed and which ones fail. Then they did it again with the insurance companies, during the Obama administration. We're going to decide which insurance companies get to succeed and which ones get to fail. And that's extremely dangerous, Chip. And we're starting to see this again, where they're going to now decide Bitcoin is the one, that's their choice, Bitcoin and Ethereum, but then they're going to try to crush what XRP and Ripple is doing because they want to control and dominate. I don't know if that's really the objective there, but that's what it seems like, at least on its face, what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the picking winners and loser things, it's always a bad thing. It's like when you're in a position like that, especially in a regulation type of a scenario, you start picking winners and losers. It's exactly what happened with the SEC, deeming, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, these aren't, the top two market caps, of crypto. They're not. But what about the rest of them? It's like, are they picking winners and losers? Does it qualify as a cryptocurrency? I wanted to put this up here. Jungle Beer says, the level playing field. This is what happens when you create a new currency, XRP. All the world is in. The U.S. is hanging on to the USD with a crooked grip. That's a very good point, Jungle Bear, because you're right. A lot of this goes back to the whole idea of Ripple, being a fintech startup, going out there attempting to dethrone SWIFT with the slow payments that was founded in the U.S. in 1974, and SWIFT gives the U.S. government the ability to shut down countries. It's like, you're in Iran? We don't like you. We shut it all down, freeze all their assets, freeze any payments going anywhere. And this is exactly what you're talking about, the crooked grip. But what we're starting to see is this is dissipating, right? The U.S. for the long time, since 1971, when they, since they created the petrodollar, it was the world sort of trade currency, right? It's what you traded with, and that's becoming less and less. And everybody's trying to circumvent that right now. You've got China, you've got other countries that are looking to move around that, and that's really what the promise of, I think, really what's going to happen with cryptocurrency. I don't know, Jeff, did you want to chime in on that at all?
Yeah, man, I think that's really spot on, with this, because one of the things we saw, Bitfinex or Bittrex, one of the two, decided to delist some of the privacy tokens the other day, and privacy tokens like Monero and those assets. So we're obviously seeing more of the government oversight and regulation and less of the privacy for the movement of money, which kind of filters into that. There's so much going on right now. One of the things that I wanted to do on yesterday, I was going to dig a little bit into what's going on over in China, because again, China's kind of dictating and trying to control payments, and it becomes really dangerous when governments get involved. If we start seeing that in the U.S. From this perspective, anyways, not that they're controlling the ebb and flow of the money, because they already do that, but controlling, how private companies can get involved in the payment space. It'd be like the U.S. government, putting some, let's say Visa wanted to get involved in something else, which, then the government comes in and said, you know what? No, you can't focus there. You should only focus on the payment space. You shouldn't do anything else.
No, that's right.
And so one of the things that we saw recently in China with Jack Ma, I say, what's
Aaron. What's up, Aaron?
So, losing the headset.
Let's let Aaron weigh in. Let's let Aaron weigh in on this the whole digital asset thing.
Put that on. What do you think about digital assets?
This is all meaningless.
The SEC, meaningless
for us children.
All right, you're out of here. Get him on the hook. You're out of here, Aaron.
That is the truth.
Okay, great. It's all meaningless for the kids at this point.
Wait, get him out of here. You know what I mean? So I wanted to go with this one. Here,
let me just finish that
go
thought.
Ahead, finish that thought, because I want to throw this up there.
Yeah. So I don't even know where my thought was now. Now I've lost it. But at the end of the day,
controlling the payments.
Oh yeah, so
controlling payments.
So China came out. China's going after the Ant Group. China's coming after Jack Ma. Jack Ma's net worth went down by like $12 billion in a couple weeks. That's primarily because China's going after him and said, your Ant Group, don't focus on anything else. Stay in your lane. Focus on payments. That's where we want you. We don't want you anywhere else. When was it, the dictate of a government to decide where the private companies get to focus their efforts?
But is it
over there?
It's not private.
Well, no. Well, yeah. Over there, they can do whatever they want, public, private, whatever. But it's a different mindset. We don't want that mindset over here dictating and controlling where our private or our publicly funded companies, get to, focus their time spent in development. Something else that came up as I was going through all these articles is that Jack Ma disappeared back in October.
It's weird, right? It's funny how they just disappear.
Just disappeared. No tweets. He used to put out multiple tweets a day. He's just gone. And he had a reality show like the Shark Tank, and just didn't show up for it, and has been gone since October.
Yeah,
so where is this guy? Where is he in some gulag somewhere? Did he leave the country? Is he trying to save his company? As they're trying to destroy it, they said, "Oh, you're too wealthy now," so they're destroying his valuation. Man, stuff like that's crazy. And so now we see the government over here trying to do the same thing. When they spoke out against the stable coins and all of that. Man, it could lead in a really bad direction.
Yeah, I want to thank Notorious XRP for the cool videos he puts out, because that puts a lot of work in those. But also, thank you for the super sticker, Notorious. Much appreciated. Let me find this. Let's see. Here it is. Okay, I want to put this one up. So, Taekwondo 4 says, I think Russia's making a mistake back on the winners and losers method. Since the mining is contrary to its own digital currency, riding an open source freeway, which Ether and Bitcoin is not. Thoughts about that, Jeff?
Let me read that again. Let's see.
Yeah.
I think Russia is making a mistake backing the winners and losers method, since the mining is contrary to its own digital currency, riding on an open source freeway, which, but then you're talking about Russia, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Russia was also very antagonistic in the digital asset space. I think it's interesting, though, where China, shut down the Bitcoin mining and then embraced it. Russia shut down Bitcoin mining, then embraced it, as they did with much of the digital asset space. And then you see one of the leaders of their central bank in Russia come out and say that they see that the digital currencies will replace SWIFT. And so you're seeing a lot of interesting statements coming out of these regimes that would otherwise, not want to provide any competition when it comes to the government over anything, over the people, over your flow of money. But now they've obviously found the methodology that gives them even additional control through the centralized currencies that are the CBDCs. So I think there's a lot more to everything that's going on. The timing is interesting.
Well, there definitely is. So Shaitan XRP chimes in. He says, we're trying to avoid war. That's the whole point of a level playing field. How is there a level playing field when Russia and China got the jump already and they're stiffing the U.S.? It's a good point. I mean, again, how does that benefit if, of course, in the U.S. we hear we the people. Where's we the people? It's we the politicians who enjoy stuffing lots of money and fiat into our pockets and then having shell companies that are tied to China and all these other places that are, rolling around. And it's not just the U.S. This is how it happens. It happens everywhere. I mean, I think they all go there with good intentions until they get there. Someone taps them on the back, says, hey, come on over here to the back room. And like, I know you're excited there, Bucky, but could you settle down a little bit? Let me explain a little bit how this works, okay? We got this on you, and this could happen, and blah, 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 blah. Now, what we'd like you to do on this upcoming vote, we'd like you to vote this way. Your thoughts on it? They basically put them in a corner, and this is why a lot of this stuff is just it's infiltration, man. It's everywhere. It's every country. We're all dealing with this, and we talk about the wars. We had World War I, World War II. This right now, this war is happening in a digital format, right? It's happening very differently. And now, when you're talking about someone made the good point earlier. When you're dealing with a digital asset, and the U.S. lagging behind is the understatement of the year. It's just DOA, dead on arrival, right? It's just not even anywhere to be found. It's ridiculous.
That's true. That's exactly right. Hey, I just want to point this out. Giuseppe Cardo brought up, he said, Jeff, do you remember when I asked you a few days ago if this isn't just a maneuver to control XRP and make it its own stablecoin, keeping up with China and Russia? And those two are moving forward, and that's kind of an interesting thought process. What is the government up to? What does the backroom dealing look like between Ripple and the government? Ripple is moving into a space where you have to have government response, because they can't get too far. They're at a point right now where it's almost like liftoff stage, and the government's looking at them and say, whoa, wait a minute. We can't allow this to go full liftoff without us being involved, without providing the regulatory clarity necessary. How do we slow this down? Well, the easiest way to slow it down, let's go after them and, file a claim of, that the digital asset they're using is a security, and we can slow that down. I don't know if that's the case. I try to look at, things from every possible, perspective as you think through it, and then try to come up. We're never going to guess what the outcome is. We can keep discussing it and analyzing and all of that. What's going to happen is going to happen regardless, of what goes on. And sometimes the things that we see, kind of on its face is different than what's going on behind the scenes. And I got to believe that the backroom negotiation that's going on right now with Ripple and the SEC, or at least maybe it hasn't gotten to that phase yet, but I don't know. The Ripple has been, pretty actively engaged with lawmakers, within Congress, and as well as engaging with the SEC over the years. So there's something's transpiring, something's getting ready to move. And Giuseppe kind of brings up an interesting way to look at it, interesting perspective, that one thing we know, the government doesn't build anything. They always, will either hire out a third party or whatever. But here's a scenario where the U.S. digital dollar that, Maxine Waters brought up, 5 months ago, as part of their stimulus, quote unquote, package, was just a joke. That digital dollar meant nothing to anything, and they didn't put any thought process into it. They look around, oh, look how cool those CBDCs are. Let's just make our own. And they thought they could just roll something out overnight. So
that's because they don't have a lot of comprehension. I wanted to let everybody know that tonight we have none other than Johnny Deaton on the roundtable with Jeff and I tonight. I'm going to pop it right in the chat right there, so you guys can go check it out. Go ahead, and this is what is really cool. If you guys see an upcoming live stream, there's something called reminder in this corner right here. I don't know if you guys, let me zoom in on this if I can. I don't know if I can in this one. No, not too much anyway. But right here, if you, this says set reminder, it's this little bell. So if you see something's upcoming, you set this reminder. That way you'll get notified right 30 minutes before it starts. So it kind of gives you kind of a heads up, like, hey, it's going to start in 30 minutes. And that's one of the things it does. I mean, you already have the reminder on, but this is kind of a nice thing too. It kind of gives you a heads up that it's coming up. Well, we're really excited and fortunate to have John on tonight to kind of go through some stuff and really go through some of your questions. And I went ahead and put the tweet in there as well. I want us to think that this is it. Oh, hang on a second. Whoa,
Make sure you know, if we want to get some good community questions, you guys can send them to our Twitter, which is, you know, on the chain underscore the underscore.
Actually, if you go right there, you guys will be able to add your comment to that. The one I just tweeted out on the chain one. That's actually this what I have up on the screen. There's a long thread here. If you guys look through here, talks about this, then you see there is what John recommends is if you don't want to read the whole complaint, read the memorandum and support. That's all the facts, right? And if you want to read the whole complaint, you can download the PDF here. And then, of course, there's a little chart there that kind of explains when we're going to be going live. And obviously, I'm sorry if it's later for you folks over in Europe, but if you're far enough on the east there, you can you know, if you're in Australia or Japan, you know, it'll be tomorrow morning for you folks. So
we get plenty of people logging in here at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. their time.
We certainly do, Jeff, and it's crazy, right? I'm like, what are you doing at 2 a.m.? I'm like sleeping. I'm like a bear, you know. I'm sleeping. I'm doing my thing. Prodigy Defender says Ripple XRP is going to frontier remittance payments with or without the USA. I hope Americans fight to the last. And I agree with that. They don't need, I mean, this is why they said, hey, we're going to be leaving the country. Hey, hello. It's kind of like, you know, if you ever see like something big happens and people get pots and pans and they go out and they start banging them in the street. This was Ripple out there with a big wood spoon or a metal spoon banging the pot, you know, hey, we're moving. You know, we're going to have to move out of here. We're going to have to go. And SEC is like, oh yeah, I got something for you, pal. And then bam, right on the way out the door, you know. But as we found out, the tollable, what are the agreements in that were, they were suspending different periods of the 5-year statute of limitations, which they would just you know, they would just eliminate that altogether. So anybody that says, well, it's past the 5 years statute of limitations, Ripple was, you know, being totally transparent, saying, yeah, we're willing to forego that. Because look, yeah, this is it right here, Sir Gordon. Thank you. Tolling agreement ended on 12/31, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have a. That's what I was getting at. The tolling agreement. They had all these different periods. That was the last one. The weird thing is that we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? So this started as soon as I want to say April. And you guys can correct me. Maybe Sir Gordon knows. I think it was April of 2019 is when the first tolling agreement started, and that's just all that does is it eliminates any statute of limitation, and it's agreed by Ripple. And then there were miscellaneous periods throughout that. So yeah, thanks for the clarity on that.
Hey Chip, there's a comment here from what is it? Perfection in Heaven. On the plus side, XRP is finally decoupled from BTC. And we definitely see a little bit of a decoupling as, you know, basically XRP has kind of rolled back to where it was about 3 weeks ago and just sitting tight at that 22 cents mark. I think it was 24 and change before. Now it's sitting there at 22 and it hasn't really budged much, you know, whereas you're seeing Bitcoin putting up all-time highs and Ethereum's going to roll 1,000 pretty soon.
Yeah, well, that's not the kind of decoupling we really want, Jeff. You know, it's like as Bitcoin is ripping through the ecosphere, right, and just tearing everything up. But this is what I always say. I mean, like, just imagine, if you will, picture the scene. You're sitting around wondering what's going on. All of a sudden, you get some sort of clarity that Brian Brooks drops and clarifies what a digital currency is. Or suppose there's a settlement. Or suppose this goes to full trial and that it's XRP is deemed not a security. Just imagine you can buy at that point, who knows, could be like you could buy 1 XRP for 45K, or I could buy XRP at 20 cents, 40 cents, $1, $3, $7, $20. on sale all day long. So you'll start seeing the FOMO happen at that point. And look, we like to feature all kinds of different people stories here. I am the debate came out with a video. He doesn't do a lot of videos anymore. He said that one of the things that he was looking at was the fact that he got into crypto to make money. And what he was saying was, if you're getting into crypto, don't get too attached to your investment, right? Don't look at this like this is DM Logic. I want to see if I had the video pulled up here. Let's see if he had something on here. But what he was saying in the video essentially was, look, we all got into this for a reason. We got in it to make money. We didn't get in it for fun. Don't worry if you're going to be the one, salmon swimming upstream against the everybody else. So he's trying to make the point of, and look, you need all kinds of voices in here. But again, what we do is we give our opinions. I have an opinion. It's held pretty tightly right now. But sometimes things happen to change that. An opinion changes that, a court decision. But
Chip,
I
I'm
certainly...
not very opinionated.
What's that?
I said I'm not very opinionated.
No, neither one of us are, Jeff. It's really hard to say that we're both opinionated, except we are massively opinionated, right? So yeah, that's how we go. Hang on a second. This is funny. Chi-Town says Clayton's wife Chinese like McConnell's. They wear the pants. Whoa, Chi-Town laying it down, man. And when I see Chi-Town, am I guessing you're from Chi-Town, Chicago? Or no, is that just a cool yeah, so here we go. I am the debate. I'm not taking advice from the guy who married CSC. Well, look, Casino Coin, everybody has their, their thing. So, perfection in heaven is, in his heaven, CSC is not available.
The whole point there, though, Chip, is that he shouldn't be taking advice from anybody on YouTube. I think that's the number one thing to look at. Go to you want to get some feedback from someone that is a practiced everyday trader, and you're going to sit down with that investment advisor. That might be a little bit different, but even then, do you want to listen to your investment advisor? Do they always have your best interest at heart and know what they're doing? Or do you do your own research, then go to your investment advisor and say, hey, I know this technology, I know, and Chip, you brought that up the other day. One of the investments that you'd, put in, stock wise was because you understood the technology and you knew that their stock was already undervalued and had a long way to go because of what the technology represented. And so you've done okay with that stock, but a lot of people would look at that stock and not understand it, and understand their technology. So you always have to do your own research, and you have to feel comfortable in what you're investing in, and I think and that's to that point, am I going to listen to what somebody says, on Casino Coin or anybody else? If I see an interesting something comes up, I'm like, oh, you know what? I never looked into that. It's like DeFi or Uniswap or any of those platforms. All of a sudden I used it, Uniswap, but I wouldn't have known about it unless I saw people talking about it and reading articles on it.
But there's so many of them, Jeff. I mean, the problem with this, it's such a vast world out there. It's like, the thing is, like, I invest in founders. Like, if Alex Mashinsky was going to do some new startup, look, he's exited 6 companies. He's pretty much a solid bet. And whatever he decides to do, or if this is his last gig, I invest in people that have a very serious track record. Peter Thiel, in my opinion, I've read his books. I happen to think he really knows his stuff. I think he's one of my favorite personalities out of the PayPal mafia. All the people that came out of that, all went on to found pretty successful companies. You had Reed Hastings that went out and founded LinkedIn. You certainly had Elon Musk. He's another big favorite. Elon Musk went out to found SpaceX and also Tesla. So, and Peter Thiel's gone on to found a bunch of things as well. So, when I see that, when I see who's behind it, and I see the kind of investment, when I look at like Excel Partners, when they're putting money into something, their track records are very sound. So, I mean, I kind of come at it from a different standpoint on the tech side. But look, I mean, the same with Casino Coin. Look, they're trying to solve a problem. Look, a token for the casino industry, right? So some people are going to connect with a project like that. Some are not. Some people think, that's a pretty cool thing, but some are like, that's not my thing. Like, personally, even though I think there's other projects that are out of China that are interesting, because of where they're originated, because of the scenario Jeff just talked about with Jack Ma, you know, who was like probably the most famous personality to come outside. And that's another danger too. You don't want somebody becoming more famous than President Xi, right? So you want to make sure that, you know, you don't be famous, not too famous, sit in the back seats, go ahead, sit down, wait a minute, don't make a name for yourself in a different space. Let's not let you get too out of hand. Let's not get crazy now, right, Jeff? So there's always that. And I look at projects, I know a lot of people like projects out of there. It's just like I have a personal thing that I can't do it. You know, and I spend a lot of time, Jeff and I were just looking for something online recently, you know, and it's so hard sometimes to find out, you know, you buy a product and then who's the original equipment manufacturer, and you got a third party selling it, and you're like, is, you know, and especially if you're buying on Amazon, I try to do as much due diligence as I can to find out if it's the original manufacturer, because so many people get ripped off where they just start, you know, all this garbage floods in from all these other countries, and mostly the one that starts with the C and ends with an A, but they flood in here and you're like, what am I buying? Am I buying the original thing? Because you go, well, look, it has the name on the box. That doesn't mean anything. Everything is, I mean, so this
And
isn't,
that's
you know,
the bait and switch, Chip, you know, and it's
bait
interesting.
and switch.
You know, I'm looking at, you go to Amazon now and you can see duplicates of the product. You think it's the product, it isn't. It's coming out of China. It's what's amazing to me, and it drives me crazy. There are like really high quality manufacturers over in China that have made the products better. You know, the one thing that I've seen coming out of China is their packaging. Their packaging is just outstanding. You know, however you look at it, the box, the construction of the box, the way they put everything in, you know, they pay so much attention to detail. The quality, many of them out of 100 products that are all duplicates of each other, there's probably one or two that will meet the quality standards that we're used to, whether in Europe or in the US. The other 99 or 98 of them won't be any good, you know, because they didn't do the research to go into creating this product. They just replicated what they've seen. They reverse engineered it. But I bought you know, just something small to think about it from this perspective. I bought a wine stopper, and you can go to Total Wine or any of the wine stores or Amazon, and you can get, you know, the wine stopper plunge. They took the wine stopper idea, and I'm looking at it. First of all, the quality of it, I opened up the box. The box was amazing. I opened up the box. I'm like, you know, and it was Chinese written all over it. And I open it up, and I was looking at it, and there's a little arrow on the stopper. I'm like, what the heck's that arrow? And I stopped the wine with it. I'm looking at this arrow, and I see those little hash marks on this ring all the way around. It's stainless steel ring. And I look, and there's numbers on it, and it rotates. I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, why didn't anybody else think about putting the date on the stopper so that when you close the bottle of wine, you can put the day of the, you know, the day that you stopped it, so you can look, oh, I've got 5 days of, you know, where it's gonna, like, little attention to detail is amazing to me. What drives me crazy is the bait and switch, where you think you're buying one product and they send you the cheap knockoff. Now, you know, big corporations have been doing that to us for years. We've allowed that to happen. You know, you go into some of the big, you know, retail outlets, the big brand name, big box stores, they have their products on their shelves. And then where the bait and switch takes place many times, they've brought the manufacturing over to China in order to decrease the quality and decrease the cost, but yet raise the price. So they're making more money. All this is relevant to the digital asset space, I promise.
No,
you know?
it absolutely is. I mean, you're right. It does have an effect, right? Everything kind of like
major effect. The biggest knockoff, you know, where the big U.S. based companies or otherwise is, you know, you have the outlet stores. You know, the outlet stores are huge in the U.S. At one time, maybe you could get the actual product, but now they manufacture a knockoff version of the original that they sell in the outlet stores. It has a different SKU number. It has a different brand number. Everything is different from that perspective, but the product looks the same. You think you're going in and getting, you know, whatever brand name you want, but it's not the same. It's not the same quality. It's not the same materials. It's not the same outcome, you know, and that's where you saw the bait and switch, which is, to me, is a lot worse than going over and looking at what goes on in China sometimes when they're just replicating product, because they're both bad. But there, it's a bait and switch because it's a fake product.
Right.
Here, you think you're buying the real product, but it's a knockoff of their own product. To me, that there's something wrong with that, which then relates back to what's going on over in the the whole control over the digital asset space.
Well, let's take a look at VeChain. It's like I have a problem. Okay, for me, it's like I listen. I recognize it as a great project, but the whole idea is tracking supply chain, right? Coming out of China, regulate, and where is the worst supply chain coming out of there, where you don't know if it's an authentic product or not? Right, and so we're going to go ahead now and trust and put a lot of trust and energy into a project out of there. It's going to then tell me whether it's authentic or not. It seems a little bit disingenuous to me, but again, we all have our strong, tightly held beliefs of where we want to govern our decisions out of. But would that stop anybody from making a lot of money? Absolutely not. But again, just with anything you have to do, you got to look into it a little bit further to see if it's something you want to go forward with, right? I mean, you might not always. What is going on? All of a sudden, Jeff, I cannot show that. There we go. So Jungle Beer says, hey, whatever the outcome of the SEC, the publicity for Ripple and XRP is cool. Hopefully, it will light a spark. Pardon the pun. For people to get into the crypto space. Welcome mass adoption. And I think people are already starting to look at it, because everywhere, mainstream media was talking about this SEC versus Ripple. Who's like, Ripple, XRP, never heard of it before. A lot of times they don't actually know what that is. Oh, my mouse is doing some weird stuff here. Let's look at this one here. Wow, something funky just happened here, Jeff. I don't know what, but everything kind of froze up.
Taking control.
No, I don't know. So things just kind of like froze up here. Something weird happened. I don't know. Here we go. So someone says, who else thinks Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen need to be replaced after all their shady behavior? I don't know what shady behavior you're talking about. Everything they did was pretty much on the up and up. From what I see, I mean, look, people had a problem with them selling, XRP. Well, look, they were part of their compensation packages. We talked about this, where sometimes people get stock options. It's part of your compensation. For many, many years, you had, before Tim Cook took over Apple, after Steve Jobs passed away, Steve Jobs took $1. He took $1, but all his compensation was in stock, right? And recently, Tim Cook got a raise, but a lot of it was in stock options. So them going ahead and selling that, you say, well, 150 million, but his salary is pretty modest, for a CEO. And we talked about the CEO of Snowflake that gets over $100 million a month. His compensation for the year is $1.3 billion. Chris Larsen also, people like to criticize him because he sold U.S. Equivalent of 450 million U.S. But that guy also puts a lot of his money where his mouth is. He donates a lot to charity too. He has a lot of charity trusts and stuff. So here we go. I want to put up Channing Smithson's here. The next 6 months will be some of the biggest push for XRP, because people will start to see the value in two forks: Spark, FLR, and the DFLR. Thoughts on that, Jeff?
The next 6 months. Let's see some of it, but yeah, I there's definitely some big movements coming with that. Is it going to be a big push for the XRP, or is it going to be a big push for Spark? When Spark finally starts distribution. It's interesting because on Spark, BitRoot is going to put it has an official listing of the Spark. I think starting January 6th. But I think it's coming under the heading of Flare, and I think it's just an IOU. I don't think it's the actual Spark token yet.
No, I don't think it is either. But I think we're in good shape. We're coming up almost on 2 o'clock. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm gonna use my calculator, Jeff. It looks like my hand, and that's I'm gonna do some quick math, and it looks like 6, right? So I'm using my fancy calculator. 6 hours we have coming up. We have none other than John Deaton, the man who actually was brave enough to go out there and really put all the facts together. It's very, very well written. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in here. If you guys aren't, go ahead and set a reminder there. Click on that YouTube link right there. You'll be able to set a reminder in the corner of the video for tonight. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, and also, go ahead and click that notification bell. The other thing I'm going to put in the tweet, the chat, I should say, is this other tweet. This is the Ripple. Hang on a second, John. This is the Deaton v. SEC complaint. If you want to go ahead and download that, but if you have any questions for tonight, go ahead and click on this link right here. You'll be able to add questions over the course of the next couple hours, where we've been kind of monitoring what's happening on this tweet. There's a lot of people asking some very good questions. And then, of course, a lot of tonight's going to be driven by your questions for John Deaton, and all really centered around this complaint against the SEC. Jeff, anything final words here before we get out of here?
Man, I just wanted to, I've been following the Celsius network and the Cell token. The Cell token hit earlier today, hit $6.82.
Wow.
Pulled back to $6.35. This is, it keeps moving. Yeah, it really keeps moving. This will be some, I want to, spend some time on a future video talking about that, talking about the Cell token and getting into whether or not this is a utility token. I saw somebody tweet out that they thought that the Cell token was actually a security. But just to see this movement and tying it back into that project, it would be interesting to discuss at a future time. But I thought I'd bring it up now because they're hitting some big numbers on that token.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's nice, man. And Jeff's of course bringing that up because he probably owns it. And no, I don't. But but anywho, so hey, Adam says love the show. Thanks, guys. Uphold is standing up to fight like for us XRP holders. Yeah, JP Thero saying really solidly that there's only two ways it would come off the exchange. First one being if it was listed as a security. They're not in the business of selling unregistered securities there. The second part of it is if the trading volume dropped is so low that it wouldn't make sense to be on their exchange. So that's pretty cool. So I want to thank everybody for coming in here. Just follow the advice of Wen Mullet. He has a glorious mullet. Jeff and I were fortunate enough to hang out at the beach with him when he drove down here from northern Florida just to hang out with us for a little bit, grab some lunch. And he has a glorious mullet, so I got to tell you that right off the bat. The Celsius app is what United Freedom Limited. The Celsius, again, we're big fans of it, of Celsius there, so that's pretty cool. We say, I hate when you go to click on something and it's like it moves. So you have Violent J says, thank you, brothers. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I thank you too. So make sure you're the other thing too is I want you to go down on the link there, and I can't grab it out of there. It's always like finding that as like, but because I don't have it on the screen. But there's a Jeff and I drop videos on our other channel. We call it the standard channel. Those are for upload short form. I dropped a short form 11-minute video earlier today. I go into John Deaton's Twitter thread that he put out last night. I kind of go down and break that down a little bit. So you guys want to check that out, you can surely do that. And I wish I could just grab that, Jeff, so I could put it in there. But again, finding it when we're this late into the thing. Hey, if XRP moons in 4 weeks, who's complaining, says Mike Lotu. And you know what? Not me. Thank you, guys. Looking forward to discussion tonight. Have a great day, everyone. Guys,
Hey, just real quick before you sign off on that, just Alf Pet brought something up, and I just thought it would be a quick to respond to it. What is Spark token? Can I still get it? Do I need it? I just started to invest in XRP, and they want to know if they need the ledger. But I think that, there's multiple videos on that, but I think that's something to bring up, separately. But you don't need the Spark token, but the Spark token was an airdrop, based on individual holding of XRP. If you held it prior to December 12th, they took a snapshot of your holdings, and then you would get an airdrop of the Spark token if you held your XRP on the right exchange. The ledger, if you're brand new to the space and you're just kind of getting involved, you don't necessarily need a ledger, but many believe that if you keep your digital asset on the ledger, then you actually have control over your digital asset versus keeping it on an exchange. However, that could be a little scary for some people. Can you close the door? So just thought I'd bring that up, but that's a whole nother conversation. So
it is a whole other conversation, but it's a good question. We have a lot of new people coming in here too, and so we can't always remember, think that everybody's been around the space for a long time. So it's always good to kind of like bring that stuff up. I just wanted to say, guys, thanks. Really an impromptu stream, and I'm really happy Jeff has his his phone worked out. So for tonight, we're looking really forward to seeing John Deaton come in here and jump on the round table with us and having a phenomenal conversation. That's all I have. Jeff, anything?
That's it. I just want to say appreciate all of you guys for being here with us on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, wherever you might be tuning in from. Again, we really appreciate all you guys. We appreciate our subscribers. If you guys are brand new and you haven't subbed to this channel yet, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button down below. And then there's a little notifier if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, every time we go live. I know that sometimes I miss out on some great videos, mainly because I didn't hit that bell notifier. And I make sure, I always do that, with the videos that I, and the streamers that I love listening to. If you can also hit a thumbs up if you like the content, make sure either way you guys come back tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the conversation. We're going to get into the
Complaint. Yep.
the complaint. I was thinking claim, but the complaint. From the attorney, versus the SEC, in regards to XRP. So that's going to be a great conversation.
That's awesome. This is Chip, Jeff signing off. Guys, we'll see you in a couple hours. Looking forward to seeing you there. Take care. See you on the next one.
Here. Let's go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.